Well, this is the last of the media law lectures this week, and the topic's freedom of speech. It's not unusual for courses in media law to actually begin with that topic. What I've done is I've actually gone through and addressed other issues along the way, and at the end come back and revisited the topic and the idea of freedom of speech. I take the view that people, having been exposed to the various restrictions which are imposed on speech and the various rationales and reasons why we have that, can appreciate that there is a tension between complete freedom of speech and the problem of balancing other competing rights. And it's trying to get that balance correct or appropriate that is a constant challenge. Now, it's easy to see in other regimes, in other countries. You might say, well, their freedom of speech is different. What's that, robo-lawyer? Yes, well, we had a little bit of an issue about freedom of speech this year, didn't we, with the Olympics in China. People were concerned that there would be less access to the internet, those sorts of things. And that's right, robo-lawyer. It brings up the very important issue of what is freedom of speech. Now, if Pencil Dog goes out at night and barks loudly, Pencil Dog's exercising Pencil Dog's freedom of speech. But at the same time, there's other people have other rights. They have a right to have quiet night's sleep, Pencil Dog. So even though you're being very good and guarding the whole world, when you're barking and exercising your freedom of speech, you're impinging on the rights of others. That's right. And so this idea of freedom of speech is, you can say things, but the other thing is, the other aspect of it is that where we've got freedom of speech, there is a right to unfettered access to information. Now, of course, we know that that's not necessarily true, and some people think that's a good idea. Like, for example, I've just been marking a whole lot of essays where people were talking about censorship and censorship of the obscene. And I didn't come across anyone who said everything should be absolutely free. What they did was they tended to support the view developed by the Australian government. What's that, Angel of Learning? They just said that so they'd get good marks in the essay. I don't necessarily think that's true, Angel of Learning. I think some people had slightly different ideas, but they all came with the idea that with freedom of speech, it had to be tempered. And historically, in the lecture, I run through a bit of the history about the rise of freedom of speech and how originally there were very harsh laws, especially laws which against sedition and those sorts of things. And then the rise of the Enlightenment, the idea that freedom of speech was really quite useful. It had a lot of benefits, and one of the benefits was that we could have a free discussion of ideas, and in some cases a more accurate appreciation of reality was the result. Certainly that. The second one is that sort of it enhances an individual's autonomy, and you'll actually see in some of the United Nations declarations the idea of freedom of speech. What's that, robo-lawyer? Do we have freedom of speech in the Australian Constitution? Well, that's a very tricky question. We're not at all like the American Constitution, where freedom of speech is put in with in an amendment, where we've got an implied freedom of speech. High Court judges have found an implied freedom of speech on political matters. So you can't just talk about everything. The implication being, in a democracy, it's important that there be a free flow of ideas. Yes. The idea. See, the problem with freedom of speech is you then have problems about the hate speech, the vilification. You've got to tolerate everyone's ideas, and what we've been looking at is how does the government cope with that? What sort of laws are in place? What sort of justifications are there? And of course, you've noticed new laws being developed about privacy as the technology changed. So it's interesting. I suspect there'll be new laws, even further laws in relation to the internet, because the internet's still going ahead in leaps and bounds. Yes, it makes it possible to put all sorts of things up on the internet. You should have a look at what's up there. What? Are we up there? Yes. Yes. Yes, I think we're up there. I put you up there, yes, because people like to see you. About 60-odd clips of us up there. And I always try to make sure we do sensible things. We don't do silly things on the internet. A lot of people show silly videos. We try to be sensible. Yes, freedom of speech. Well, I think that's about it for freedom of speech. I guess we could say plenty about it, but I think that's it for the course. What's that? We've got to do a clip on copyright yet. That's right. We did copyright last week in the lecture, and we haven't put that one up for people. Well, I think the lecture's up. Now, I hope people have got their assignments in. There a few assignments I can't I don't know where they are, whether they're meant to be coming or not. But you've done your assignments. Well, that's very good. That's good that you've done your assignment. Anyway, I think we might say goodbye for this week. So we'll say goodbye, pencil dog. Yeah, no more barking at night. Yeah. Look at that nose. Look at that nose. Good night. Goodbye, Angela Learning. No, good night. It's daytime here. It's still daytime. Goodbye, Robo. Goodbye, everyone. Till next week. Now I've got to go and turn this off. I've got to find the. Look, I'm going to find the cursor and stop.